For more than 25 years, I have devoted my life to understanding what separates those who succeed from those who fail. It all began in 1908 during a meeting with Andrew Carnegie. He proposed an immense mission to me, to build the first philosophy of individual success, founded not on theory, but on the lived experience of thousands of men and women. He warned me that the task would require 20 years of effort without salary or immediate recognition, and that I would need to learn as much from the vanquished as from the victors. He also spoke to me of a mysterious inner force, an other self, which reveals itself only through ordeal. I accepted this challenge without truly understanding what it entailed. For years, I questioned the greatest builders of my time, accumulating the data that would become the foundations of my philosophy. But having the skeleton of a doctrine was not enough. It lacked a soul, and that soul would only be born from my own trials. The first crisis came in Columbus in 1923. Without money, without a plan, consumed by indecision, I knew the worst of human suffering. Then, one New Year's Eve, walking alone in the countryside, I received an inner command of absolute clarity. Go home and finally transcribe my philosophy. I obeyed, although doubt whispered to me that I was mad to believe I could teach success when I myself was at my lowest. A second, more terrible ordeal followed in 1926. My publishing partner, Don Mellett, was murdered for exposing corruption in his city. Fearing for my own life, I fled and hid for months, consumed by fear, doubt, and deep humiliation. I, who claimed to teach courage, discovered myself incapable of applying my own principles. The true turning point came in autumn 1927. One night, pacing endlessly around a school, repeating that a solution existed, I finally felt my other self take command. An inner voice ordered me to leave the next day for Philadelphia, where the necessary help awaited me. With no real money, acting solely on faith, I borrowed $50 and traveled through the night. Upon my arrival, that same voice compelled me to choose the most luxurious hotel, to behave as the prosperous man I wanted to become rather than as the frightened man I was. It was then that I understood the essential truth. Two entities inhabit each human being, one governed by fear, the other by faith. For more than a year, fear had directed me like a slave. That night, faith had reclaimed power. My other self would not work in my place, but it would guide me toward those who could help me, provided I kept my mind closed to all limiting thoughts. Looking at myself in the mirror, I saw a transformed man. Doubt had given way to courage. Chapter 2. A new world was revealed to me. That night, a new birth had occurred within me. Fear had left me, and I was inhabited by such faith that I already saw myself in possession of the money I sought, although no source had yet been revealed to me. I drew up a list of more than 300 acquaintances likely to finance my $25,000, beginning with Henry Ford. My other self kept repeating to me, "Keep searching." After 2 days and 2 nights with almost no sleep, my list was exhausted without result. I fell asleep, exhausted, then was awakened as if by an internal explosion. The name Albert L. Pelton surged into my mind, accompanied by a complete plan. I remembered that he had been an advertiser in my old magazine, The Golden Rule. I wrote to him at once. He came to meet me the next day, glanced through my manuscripts for a few minutes, and simply declared, "I will publish your books." The contract was signed on the spot. 3 months later, my books were published and generating revenue sufficient to meet all my needs. Upon opening my first royalty check, I heard my other self whisper to me, "Your only limits are those you establish in your own mind." The next day, another brilliant idea came to me, to revolutionize automobile sales by training young salesmen without bad habits. This plan led me to Earl Powell, head of Buick, who hired me immediately. My other self had not betrayed me. Money always arrived at the precise moment I needed it, even during the Great Depression of 1929. From this experience, I drew an essential truth. Every temporary defeat carries within it the seed of an equivalent opportunity. It is not the promise of immediate success, but a seed ready to germinate. Every great man I studied, from Christ to Edison, knew adversity before greatness. I would not relive that Christmas of 1923, nor that night of battle against fear in Virginia, but I would not renounce for anything in the world the knowledge they gave me. My way of praying changed. I no longer pray only in distress, but in advance, not to obtain more, but to be worthy of what I already possess. In giving thanks, I discovered the immense wealth already mine: a healthy body, a balanced mind, creative imagination, freedom, the desire to help others. Happiness, I understood, belonged to me with or without recession. Nature itself teaches this lesson. The stars shine, the sun radiates, the seasons succeed one another immutably despite economic chaos. Only the spirit of men has ceased to function normally, overwhelmed by fear. Each person possesses the power to change their condition by first changing the nature of their beliefs, not their wishes, for only faith transforms a wish into belief, a belief into reality. Edison encountered more than 10,000 defeats before piercing the secret of electricity because he believed and never ceased. Thus emerges this conception of the other self, an approach to infinite intelligence accessible to anyone who nourishes their thoughts with faith rather than fear, opening the way to a sixth sense beyond the five ordinary senses. Chapter 3. A Strange Interview with the Devil. Before delivering this astounding interview to you, I must prepare you to understand the final assault the devil launched against me. The erosion began with the Great Depression of 1929. I lost my 600-hectare estate in the Catskills, my income dried up, my bank closed its doors. I suddenly found myself caught in a major economic and spiritual hurricane. I moved to Washington, D.C., waiting for the storm to pass. After 3 years of waiting without result, sitting one evening facing the Lincoln Memorial, a thought crossed my mind. The worldwide depression finally offered me the opportunity to test my philosophy of self-determination. But then I made the most shocking discovery of my life. I had lost my courage. My initiative was demoralized. I was ashamed to admit that the author of a philosophy of individual success found himself unable to overcome his own difficulties. It was then that I understood my error. Despite all I had learned from Carnegie and 500 other prosperous men about the power of the mastermind, I had neglected to ally myself with other minds. I was struggling like a solitary wolf. Regarding the authenticity of this interview you are about to read, I must be honest. Whether the devil was real or the product of my imagination matters little. What matters is that his confessions correspond so perfectly to what I have observed of life. I leave it to you to judge for yourself, trusting the message rather than worrying about its source. The interview begins. The devil demanded to be called Your Majesty, boasting that he controlled 98% of humanity. He described himself not as a horned and forked creature, but as negative energy itself, occupying half of every atom of matter, his opposition, whom we call God, occupying the other half. He revealed that his principal weapon was fear. 6 fundamental fears, of which poverty and death are the most effective. He enters the unused space of the human mind, sowing negative seeds that germinate into destructive habits. He explained to me his most redoubtable method, the habit of drifting. The drifter is one who allows external circumstances to govern his mind, refusing the effort to think for himself while the devil thinks in his place. He begins his grip in childhood, sometimes before birth through heredity, then through environment and habits. Fear, superstition, avarice, greed, lust, vanity, laziness. Most disturbing was his revelation about parents, teachers, and religious educators, his most valuable involuntary collaborators. By teaching children to fear him rather than to think, they unknowingly extinguish the faculty of autonomous thought. The entire school system, according to him, teaches everything except how to use one's own mind. He detailed how he uses marriage, work, savings, environment, and dominant thoughts to perpetuate drifting in every sphere of life. He confessed to hating the United States because of the Declaration of Independence and boasted of directing Mussolini, Hitler, and Stalin, whose vanity he flatters to better control them. He then drew a striking portrait of the typical drifter, without purpose, without self-confidence, spending everything he earns, blaming others, never finishing anything, criticizing the government without ever proposing a solution. In contrast, the non-drifter possesses a precise purpose, gives before receiving, never makes excuses, and inspires everyone he meets. The only difference between the two, the devil insisted, is neither physical nor spiritual. It is simply the prerogative, equally accessible to all, of using one's own mind. When I asked him why he did not seek to prevent me from publishing this confession, his answer was chilling. Preventing me would guarantee its publication. He preferred instead to encourage me to work, knowing that his faithful drifters would themselves take charge of making me suffer and denying my testimony in his place. Chapter 4. Drifting with the Devil. I forced the devil to admit a fundamental truth. He controls only those who have allowed the habit of drifting to take root in them. Without the weapon of fear, he would be totally powerless. I made him repeat this confession, knowing that repetition would help his victims test the credibility of this confession through their own experience. The devil then revealed his mastery of flattery, that bait which exploits the two greatest human weaknesses, vanity in women, egotism in men. It serves as a hook in human relationships and transforms even the strongest men into malleable clay once an expert flatterer sets to work. He also confessed to using failure as a tool of mass destruction. Fewer than 1 person in 10,000 persists after 2 or 3 defeats. This is why he pushes as many as possible toward failure. Not because failure is bad in itself, but because it leads the majority to give up and drift, while the rare few who transform their defeats into stepping stones escape his grip forever. His description of propaganda was even more disturbing. He infiltrates schools, churches, newspapers, radio, cinema. Everywhere the human mind can be influenced without consciousness. He boasted of preparing America for a form of dictatorship, not by arms, but by the ballot, pitting employers against employees and government against industry until men's full bellies make them docile. He then detailed his 12 best bribes: love, sexual desire, money, gambling, vanity, the desire to dominate others, narcotics, the need for self-expression, imitation, the desire for immortality, heroism, and food. Through these combined baits, he penetrates the mind of every human being, from birth to death. When a victim escapes him by obtaining what he desired, he simply changes the bait. Too much food, too much sex, too much money poorly controlled, anything good to slow thought and open the door to drifting. The non-drifter, however, takes what he wants from life, but according to his own rules. He steals the bait without ever biting the hook. Finally, I forced him to reveal the complete formula for defense against drifting. Think for yourself in all circumstances. Precisely define your desires and build a plan to achieve them. Transform every temporary defeat into the seed of an opportunity. Render service before receiving. Consider your mind as a receiver tuned to infinite intelligence. Manage your time like a precious budget. Fill the vacant spaces of your mind with faith rather than fear. Pray without pleading. Master life rather than submit to it. And watch your dominant thoughts, for they always attract their material equivalent. Summarized in a single rule, this formula holds in one sentence. Be precise in everything you undertake. Never leave thoughts unfinished, and make a habit of arriving at settled decisions on all things. Chapter 5. The confession continues. I forced the devil to reveal the mysterious law by which he takes permanent control of human minds, the hypnotic rhythm, the same law that governs hypnosis. He explained to me that nature maintains perfect balance in the universe through this universal force, the very one Newton had glimpsed in discovering gravitation without grasping its full scope. The devil drew a comparison with musical learning. The mind first memorizes the notes, then, through repetition, the melody and rhythm become permanently fixed. In the same way, any thought repeated many times eventually transforms into a habit, then into a rhythm. And at this final stage, the habit cannot be broken. Nature takes it over like an object caught in a whirlwind from which it cannot escape. He revealed that drifting is precisely the way he captures minds, then souls once the body is abandoned. Only he who maintains control of his own mind during his earthly existence escapes this web. His opposition, called God, offers every human being the privilege of using his own mind. It is the neglect of this privilege that delivers man to the devil. His favorite fear remains the fear of death, for its fundamental uncertainty terrifies men beyond all reason. He even confessed that attacks by religions against him served his cause. As long as people speak of him, the fear he inspires grows. His only real concern would be the appearance of a true thinker, but fear of criticism precisely prevents the emergence of such minds. He warned me that I would never dare publish what he had confided to me about religious leaders under pain of a social and financial crucifixion. Questioned about what had freed me from his grip, the devil made a humiliating confession. It was my wife's love and the combination of our two minds in a daily mastermind that had allowed me to escape his web and force him into this confession. Two united minds, he revealed, are necessary to regularly contact the great storehouse of infinite intelligence. He confirmed that chance does not exist. All reality has a cause, even when it escapes us. Thoughts always precede acts, and dominant thoughts charged with emotion are obliged to materialize. Then he described himself in a long, striking litany: the thunder and lightning, the pain and illness, the invisible general in every war, the commissioner of poverty, the executioner of death, the instigator of all jealousy, all fear, all immorality. In short, the creator of all human misery. Finally, he confessed that one who does not drift has nothing to fear from hypnotic rhythm, for this law then becomes favorable to him, fixing his constructive thoughts and converting them into material reality. The devil triumphs only because he offers more seductive bribes than his opposition to attract men toward negative thoughts and destructive actions. Chapter 6. The Hypnotic Rhythm. I asked the devil why his opposition, whom we call God, did not annihilate him. His answer was striking. The power of the universe is available to him as much as to God, and above all, every human being can access it as effectively as either one. The only true path to infinite intelligence passes through our own thought. The devil confessed to intercepting us on this path by sowing greed, envy, and hatred in our minds. He revealed a particularly cynical strategy. He deliberately uses churches to keep alive the fear he inspires, for this fear itself nourishes his grip. As long as people fear anything, he retains his control over them. The devil then explained hypnotic rhythm to me through a comparison with climate. Just as nature forces tropical and arctic trees to each adapt to their environment, it imposes the influences of their environment on human minds, unless their own thoughts are stronger than these influences. Each home, each street thus possesses its own distinct rhythm. He confirmed that each individual carries his own rhythm of thought. He who thinks in terms of success attracts success. He who nourishes failure attracts failure. This law functions like a magnet, explaining why misery loves company and why success reproduces with ever less effort. Questioned about heredity and environment, the devil clarified that hypnotic rhythm cannot change the nature of the physical body received at birth, but it can modify, control, and make permanent environmental influences, thus offering man a means to resist any undesirable environment and reverse this force of negativity toward the positive through 7 principles he was about to detail. Chapter 7. Seeds of Fear. I pushed the devil to reveal his first principle, definite purpose. He confessed that whoever adopts a precise and definite objective locks the doors of his mind hermetically against him. Every human being is born with this privilege, but 98 out of 100 lose it by sleeping on it. The devil admitted to being a better salesman than his opposition. He seduces people by nourishing them with thoughts they delight in. He detailed how he takes possession of the child from birth through imitation. The child first copies his parents, then his religious educators and teachers, absorbing their fears as an integral part of his subconscious, a terrain already prepared for drifting. Disturbing fact, the devil revealed that even definite purpose offers no permanent protection. He ultimately recovers those who escape him by nourishing their hunger for power until they violate others' rights. Then the law of compensation delivers them to him. More surprising still, he claimed that every good principle carries an equivalent danger, notably love, which he placed at the head of all his instruments of corruption. Love and fear combined obscure reason and will, leaving man with nothing to support a definite purpose. Those who want power must therefore master their emotions and remain determined in all things. The devil also revealed that a weak plan, applied with determination, can succeed even if it is not the best. Perseverance matters more than plan perfection. He who advances thus never confuses temporary defeat with final failure. He changes his plan without ever changing his purpose. Finally, he conceded that plans founded on injustice can know temporary success, but that time remains the enemy of immorality and the ally of justice. A truth youth too often neglects to observe. Chapter 8. A Definite Purpose. I brought the devil back to more concrete subjects. He revealed that those who obtain what they do not want from life are drifters, devoid of any determination. A life fully lived relieves itself of everything superfluous. Questioned about disunited couples, the devil corrected the idea that every marriage has heaven as witness. Some, he said, took place on his side. He went further in attacking the very notion of duty. Everyone's first duty is to himself before even that of children toward their parents. He claimed that parents spoil their children instead of helping them, and that any unearned gift can become a curse rather than a blessing. On prayer, he proved to be a surprising advocate. Only prayers carried by a definite purpose truly function. Those who plead in fear reap their fears. Those who pray with determination and faith set the laws of nature in motion. He specified that this philosophy harmonizes with Christ's teachings and with the very method of scientists, whose determination tears nature's most intimate secrets from her. Questioned about predestination, he rejected it categorically. Every human being chooses between positive and negative thoughts, and this choice shapes his entire life. Man, he added, possesses rights inaccessible to both God and the devil themselves, but he has not yet awakened to his own power. Then came his most stunning charge. Schools and churches, far from being his enemies, are his best allies, for both teach children to memorize rather than think for themselves, never establishing in them the importance of definite purpose. I then forced him to detail a comprehensive list of school reforms. Reverse the roles between teachers and students. Teach through practice. Teach children to plan their time, understand their emotions and sexuality, choose a definite purpose, distinguish temporary defeat from final failure, cultivate their sixth sense, know Emerson's law of compensation, and above all trust their own judgment rather than authority. He suggested abolishing traditional classes in favor of round tables led by real-world professionals. Finally questioned about the nature of sin, he defined it simply as whatever renders one unhappy. Eating too much, abusing sex, nourishing one's mind with negative thoughts, cheating, lying, remaining ignorant, accepting from life what one does not want, and above all, drifting without purpose. He confessed to never being able to enter the mind of one who does not sin, for such a mind remains master of itself. To the final question about the nature of faith, his answer was clear. Faith is the state of mind that allows one to draw from the reserves of infinite intelligence, the absence of all negative thought. In short, a definite purpose strengthened by absolute belief in its attainment. Chapter 9. Education and Religion. The devil revealed the second principle, self-mastery. He who is not master of himself will never be able to direct others. A lack of self-discipline constitutes the most destructive form of lack of determination. One must begin by conquering three fundamental appetites: the desire for food, sexual desire, and the desire to express vaguely organized opinions. Concerning food, the devil described without hesitation the ravages of overeating. An overloaded digestive system transforms into a poison factory that invades the brain and reduces it to a mere pile of clay, causing lethargy and irritability. He claimed that a cleansing of the digestive system would eliminate 95% of headaches within minutes. On sexual desire, his revelations were even more surprising. This force, he said, masters weak and strong, young and old, all those who neglect to control it. But far from advocating its suppression, he explained that sex must be transmuted into constructive driving force. All great leaders, he confessed, are highly sexualized, but they have learned to direct this energy toward their activity rather than dissipate it. Controlled sex nourishes personal magnetism, quality of voice, imagination, perseverance, and endurance against opposition. In short, it creates winners. It is not sex that is vulgar, but the abuse those make of it who refuse to master it. He even revealed that sexual emotion and precise thought share the same fundamental energy, making its mastery an almost equally essential condition as rigorous thought itself. The third appetite, the spontaneous expression of vaguely organized opinions, proved equally destructive. This habit transforms the mind into Swiss cheese. jumping from one thought to another without ever finishing anything. It also exposes everyone's plans to those who might profit from them. Wise men, he said, keep their projects to themselves. He particularly warned against the habit of writing spontaneous letters to personalities. This practice exposes its authors to swindlers who exploit their naivete, making them the laughingstock of newspapers' crazy columns. Then came a fundamental truth. No human being, living or dead, possesses the power to deprive another of his innate privilege of free and independent thought. This privilege remains the only one over which each person keeps absolute control, even if most people lose its benefits through neglect, or because parents and educators took it from them before they were old enough to understand it. To my question about what people can rely upon in grave hours, the devil answered bluntly, themselves, the power of their own thoughts, the only reliable, incorruptible source that no dishonest being can alter. Thus, the first two of the 7 principles emerged. Drifting and hypnotic rhythm are his principal weapons, while the 7 principles constitute precisely the steps through which man can break his grip and reclaim his own mind. Chapter 10. Self-discipline. The devil revealed that failure, if better understood, would deprive him of one of his most powerful weapons. Most people give up at the first defeat, never perceiving the difference between a temporary setback and final failure. He specified that nature never reduces the freedom to think. Man himself abandons it through misuse of the law of hypnotic rhythm, just as one who falls from a tree cannot blame the ground. Failure, he confessed, engenders a salutary crisis. It frees the mind from fear, proves that an objective or a plan was wrong, and forces a new beginning. Nature thus uses illness to break deficient physiological rhythm, and economic depressions to break the collective mental rhythm of unharmonious societies. The devil then led me on a long digression about how the brain functions. Far from a mythical subconscious, the human mind receives universal energy from infinite intelligence and organizes it into thoughts classified by affinity, like a filing system. The sixth sense allows 2 harmonious minds to communicate directly with each other and with this universal source, explaining why healthy human relationships engender material and spiritual wealth, while toxic relationships lead to suffering. Brought back to more concrete subjects, the devil enumerated the true benefits of adversity. It frees from vanity, tests our hidden strengths, pushes to discover the sixth sense, and above all, breaks old thought habits to forge new ones. He confirmed that his law of hypnotic rhythm is none other than Emerson's law of compensation, acting always with certainty, though according to varying timelines, like nature, which ripens a pumpkin in 3 months, but an oak in a century. Chapter 11. Learning from adversity. The devil detailed the 3rd principle, environmental influence. Environment, he explained, encompasses all forces affecting the human mind, but the most determining part remains that created by our relationships with others. Everyone absorbs, consciously or not, the mental habits of those close to them. Hence, the importance of choosing one's associations as carefully as one's food. The spouse, roommate, and professional associate exercise the most powerful influence, followed by close friends. Casual acquaintances carry little weight. He revealed that the most effective solution for building a positive environment lies in the mastermind. This alliance of minds determined to help each other toward a common purpose. No exceptional success, he confessed, is possible without this cooperation. He even added that no human being is truly bound by obligation to anyone who would deprive him of building positive mental habits. Everyone owes it to himself to eliminate all negative influence from his circle. The devil then drew up a list of the 10 dominant motivations of human action: sexual desire and love, food, self-expression, perpetuation after death, power, wealth, knowledge, imitation, surpassing others, and the 7 fundamental fears. He revealed a surprising truth. All negative desires, greed, envy, jealousy, are merely frustrated positive desires, born of failure to adapt harmoniously to nature's laws. For nature tolerates no vacuum. A brain that does not express positive thoughts will inevitably be filled with negative ones. He thus explained the Great Depression. Millions of people, seeking to get something for nothing in the stock market, had collectively sunk into fear, and the law of hypnotic rhythm had consolidated these mass thoughts into prolonged economic catastrophe. Then came the fourth principle, time, the fourth dimension. Time separates our habits into positive and negative, sanctioning some and rewarding others according to their nature. It transforms experience into wisdom, but only for those who do not drift. Wisdom, the devil specified, does not reside in accumulated knowledge, but in the capacity to harmonize with natural laws and with others. It generally comes after 40 years, forged by adversity and failure for those ready to receive it. The fifth principle, harmony, revealed that nature forces every being to align with the dominant influences of his environment, whether positive or negative. Even prisoners in a cell harmonize with their sordid surroundings. Hence the paramount importance for anyone who succeeds of choosing associates sharing a clearly defined purpose. Finally, the last principle was prudence, the most precious trait after the avoidance of drifting. He who drifts acts without reflection, chooses his friends by chance, neglects to examine the causes of failure in others. The devil insisted, one is never too prudent, and rigorous selection of one's associations remains the surest key to both success and happiness.